Mike DeSepoli, and welcome back to the Ask the Advisor show, brought to you by Heritage Financial Advisory Group. So today we're going to talk about recessions versus depressions. Okay, the U.S. is likely in a recession right now. And for those of you new to this, a recession is characterized by 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. Now, obviously, that data is lagging, so you generally don't know you're in a recession until 6 months down the line. But I think with the lockdown on the economy right now, it's pretty safe to say that we are already in recession. So naturally, when a recession comes along, the fear-mongering media has a new favorite word that they're going to peddle and promote, and that is depression, meaning that this recession will certainly, according to them, turn into a depression. You know, we think it's funny, we think it's laughable. I don't think playing with people's emotions is by any means a joke, but I think that this concept that this recession will be a depression is just so far-fetched. So I want to talk about that today. I want to give you my reasons why I believe that this will not be a depression and it will only be a recession. So the first and foremost is, when was the last depression on record? 1929. Now, obviously, we were not around to live through that depression, to trade the markets through that recession or depression. But when you look at history as a guide, you can pull a lot of facts and extrapolate some of those things and compare that to today. So we see some stark differences, to just major contrast from 1929 to that of 2020. And I want to lay out a couple things here today. So first and foremost, back in 1929, the Federal Reserve, which controls monetary policy, was jacking up interest rates. They were raising them through the roof. At that point, they were around 8 or 9% on the Federal Reserve central bank interest rate. Okay, you compare that to what we're doing today. The Federal Reserve has cut interest rates to zero. Money is much cheaper today. Monetary policy is much looser. So a complete 180-degree difference with interest rates comparing 1929 to 2020. Second tremendous difference that we see is, back in 1929, the government was raising taxes. Now, the government right now, currently today, is not cutting taxes, but over the last year and a half, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, we have seen corporate and individual tax rates come down. So again, a very big difference from 1929 versus today. The third dramatic difference, and I think this one is key, is back in 1929, the government decided to cut spending by 25%. Okay, when you compare what they're doing today, where they have just increased government spending to levels that we have never seen. They just passed the largest stimulus package on record. And by the time that this whole stimulus program runs its course, with all the different components, paycheck protection, disaster loans, unemployment, I mean, we could be talking about $10 to $15 trillion of essentially Fed money put into the economy. So a dramatic difference from today to what they were doing in 1929. And the last piece, which we also think is a very, very big thing to mention, is the fact that in 1929, they were ramping up regulations and rules to clamp down on businesses, particularly small businesses, right? Because we know that they are the ones most adversely hurt when regulations get cranked up. Again, compare that to the current administration that has been cutting regulations on a 2-for-1 basis, meaning that any new regulation that people want to introduce, if they want to bring one to the table, we have to find 2 that they can cut, so we continue to deregulate and try to help small business have a little bit more breathing room. So again, this is why I think this whole narrative around a depression is totally ridiculous. And what you have to also remember about recessions is there are different types of recessions. There's actually 3 different types. There's event-driven recessions, there's cyclical recessions, and there's structural recessions. Okay, structural recessions is like 2008, when the whole mortgage sector of the economy, we talked about housing was plummeting in 2008, the financial sector was in trouble. That is a structural recession where there's problems with the structure of the country. A cyclical recession is something that you see when natural tendencies and trends in the markets change, right? Growth eventually peaks and starts to roll back over, and we see contractions in the economy. Again, that is not what we're seeing here today. What we're seeing here today is what we call an event-driven recession, meaning you had an already robust and growing economy, and we had an outside catalyst enter into the system, creating an event-driven recession, in this case being COVID-19. It's important to know that event-driven recessions are generally and historically the shortest ones on record, averaging 6 months or less before the recovery begins. So just a couple important facts we wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We want to make sure that investors are making sound financial decisions that they can feel confident in for many years to come. And following the fear-mongering news is never the way to success. So thanks for watching, and we will see you back next week.